The massive doors of the Grand Council chamber slowly opened with a deep, rumbling sound. Ambassador Taman walked into the enormous room, his blue skin pale with worry. His hands shook slightly as he carried an old datapad filled with ancient records. The chamber was so large that his footsteps echoed across the polished stone floor. Hundreds of alien beings sat in curved rows of seats that reached up toward the high ceiling. Representatives from dozens of different worlds had gathered for this emergency meeting. The air buzzed with quiet conversations in many different languages. Some aliens had scaly skin, others had fur, and a few glowed with their own inner light. At the center of the chamber stood a raised platform where the War Council waited. General HumansYou'll of the Drakniri Empire dominated the space with his massive, reptilian form. His dark green scales were covered in battle scars, and his yellow eyes burned with hunger for conquest. Standing beside him was Commander Siyun of the Krellian fleet, her silver exoskeleton gleaming under the bright lights. Admiral Jiwan of the Zarathi Dominion floated nearby in his environmental suit, his tentacles moving restlessly inside the clear container. "The emergency session will now begin," announced General HumansYou'll in his deep, growling voice. "Ambassador Taman of the Valari has requested urgent time to address this council before we vote on the Earth invasion proposal." A wave of impatient murmurs swept through the chamber. Many representatives shifted in their seats, clearly annoyed by this delay. They had already spent weeks planning the attack on the small blue planet called Earth. The humans seemed weak and defenseless, making them perfect targets for testing the new combined fleet. Taman stepped onto the speaking platform, his legs feeling weak beneath him. He had traveled across the galaxy to deliver this warning, knowing that few would listen. The ancient archives of his people contained stories that made his blood run cold, but would anyone believe them? "Honored representatives," Taman began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's sound system. "I stand before you today with a warning that may save countless lives. You must not attack the humans of Earth." Loud laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. Admiral Jiwan's tentacles writhed with amusement inside his suit. "Ambassador Taman," the Admiral said in his bubbling voice, "we have studied the human world extensively. They have barely left their own planet. Their technology is primitive. Their weapons are crude. What possible threat could they pose to our combined fleets?" Commander Siyun nodded in agreement, her metallic voice ringing out. "Our intelligence shows they have no space-based military, no advanced energy weapons, no faster-than-light travel capability. They are sitting targets." Taman raised his hands, trying to calm the laughter and chatter. "Please, you must listen to me. The humans are not what they appear to be. My people have ancient records, stories passed down for thousands of years. The humans were once a spacefaring race." "Stories," General HumansYou'll said with a dismissive snort. "Old tales and legends. We deal in facts here, Ambassador. The facts show that Earth is isolated and weak." "No," Taman insisted, his voice growing stronger with desperation. "The isolation is intentional. The humans withdrew from galactic affairs long ago. They chose to hide on their single world, but that does not mean they are helpless." K activated. His datapad and a holographic display appeared above the platform. Ancient text scrolled across the image, written in the old Valari language. "These records speak of human colonies that existed throughout this galaxy thousands of years ago. Entire star systems where humans lived and worked alongside other species." "Where are these colonies now?" asked Representative Minho of the Korthok Alliance. "If humans were so widespread, why do we see no trace of them?" Taman's blue skin grew even paler. "That is exactly what troubles me. They vanished from all records around the same time. Not destroyed, not conquered. They simply left." All of them returned to Earth and sealed themselves away from the rest of the galaxy. The chamber erupted in more laughter and jeering. Several representatives stood up and shouted their disagreement. The noise grew so loud that General HumansYou'll had to slam his massive fist on the platform to restore order. Even if your stories are true, the general said, that was thousands of years ago. Civilizations rise and fall. Perhaps the humans were once mighty, but now they are clearly reduced to a single primitive world. Or perhaps, Temin said quietly, they are still mighty and simply choose not to show it. Admiral Jiwan floated forward, his suit humming softly. Ambassador, you speak of choice, but our observations show no evidence of hidden technology. We have monitored their communications. For years, they struggle with basic space travel. They fight among themselves with chemical explosives and metal projectiles. Surface observations, Temin replied. What if they want you to see only what they choose to show? What if the primitive appearance is intentional? Commander Suyun made a sound like grinding metal, which passed for laughter among her species. You suggest they are pretending to be weak. But why would an advanced civilization hide their strength? Cayman looked around the chamber at all the alien faces, staring at him with doubt and amusement. Perhaps because they learned that strength attracts conflict. Perhaps they chose peace over power. Weakness, General HumansYou'll declared. Pure weakness, disguised as philosophy. A truly strong race does not hide. They conquer, they expand, they dominate. The general turned to address the full chamber, his voice booming with authority. Fellow representatives, we have heard enough ancient fairy tales. Our combined fleet numbers over 500 of the most advanced warships in known space. Our target is a single planet with no space-based defenses. This will be the easiest conquest in galactic history. Cheers and applause filled the chamber. Representatives from warrior races beat their weapons against their seats. The more peaceful species sat quietly, but none spoke up to support Temin's warning. I propose we vote immediately, General HumansYou'll continued. All in favor of proceeding with the Earth invasion. Cans, claws, tentacles, and various other appendages rose throughout the chamber. Temin watched in horror as the count climbed higher and higher. Nearly every representative voted to attack Earth. All opposed, the general called out with obvious confidence. Only one hand rose. Cayman stood alone among hundreds of alien beings. His single vote meaningless against the overwhelming tide of support for war. The motion passes, General HumansYou'll announced. Admiral Jiwan, you will coordinate the fleet movements. Commander Suyun, prepare your ships for departure. We launched the attack in 3 standard months. As the representatives began filing out of the chamber, chattering excitedly about their easy victory, Temin remained standing on the platform. He clutched his datapad containing the ancient warnings and felt a deep sadness settle in his chest. He had tried to save them all, but they would not listen. Soon, they would learn the truth about humanity, but by then, it would be too late. The sleeping giant was about to be awakened, and his wrath would be terrible to behold. Temin whispered a prayer in his ancient language and hoped that some of them might survive what was coming. 3 months had passed since the vote in the Grand Council chamber. Now, the largest war fleet in galactic history moved slowly through the darkness of space toward a small blue planet called Earth. 500 warships from dozens of different worlds traveled together in perfect formation. Admiral Jiwan floated in his command suit on the bridge of the flagship Dominator. His tentacles moved excitedly as he watched the tactical display, showing their approach to the human solar system. Around him, officers from many different species worked at control stations, all eager to witness what they believed would be the easiest conquest ever recorded. Distance to target system, Admiral Jiwan asked through his suit's speaker system. 2 hours until we reach the outer planets, replied Navigation Officer Kyung Jae, a tall humanoid with gray skin and 4 arms. All ships report ready for battle. The Admiral's tentacles curled with satisfaction. Excellent. Signal the fleet to maintain formation. I want our arrival to be overwhelming and undeniable. On the bridge's main screen, the human solar system grew larger with each passing minute. The aliens could see the bright yellow star at the center with several planets orbiting around it. Earth appeared as a tiny blue dot, looking peaceful and defenseless from this distance. Captain Minho commanded the lead squadron of Krellian destroyers. His ship, the Iron Fang, cut through space ahead of the main fleet. Like his fellow Krellians, Minho had a muscular build and tough red skin that could survive in harsh environments. His species loved warfare and had been looking forward to this battle for months. Captain called out communications officer Gina from her station. We are detecting radio signals from the human world. It's basic electromagnetic transmissions, very primitive technology. Minho laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. Primitive, indeed. Are they trying to communicate with us? Yes, sir. The signals appear to be attempts at peaceful contact. They are broadcasting in multiple frequencies, trying to establish dialogue. Put it through the translators, Minho ordered. Let us hear what the weak humans have to say. A few moments later, a human voice filled the bridge. The translator made it sound strange and mechanical, but the words were clear enough. Unknown vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations. The Krellian bridge crew burst into laughter. Several officers slapped their control panels in amusement. The idea that these primitive beings thought they had anything resembling a defense command was hilarious. Should we respond, Captain? Asked Gina, trying to control her own laughter. Why not? Minho replied. Tell them we are here to accept their surrender, okay? Make it clear that resistance is futile. Back on Earth, President Hannah sat in the emergency command center deep beneath the capital city. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and graying hair, but today her face showed only worry and fear. Around her, military advisors and scientists worked frantically at computer terminals, trying to understand what they were facing. Madam President, said General Sun Wu, the head of Earth's military forces, the alien fleet is massive. Our satellites count over 500 ships, many of them larger than anything we have ever built. President Hannah stared at the main display showing the approaching alien armada. Have they responded to our communications? Yes, ma'am, replied Communications Director Yuna. They are demanding our immediate surrender. They claim resistance is futile. The president closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of the billions of people depending on her decisions. Open a channel to their command ship. I want to speak directly to their leader. Channel open, Madam President. Hannah took a deep breath and spoke clearly into the microphone. This is President Hannah of Earth. We are a peaceful people who have never threatened your worlds. We offer friendship and cooperation. There is no need for conflict between our peoples. Admiral Jiwan received the transmission on his flagship and listened with growing amusement. His tentacles writhed inside his suit as he prepared his response. Primitive human, your offers of friendship are meaningless. Your world belongs to the Galactic Coalition now. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick. President Hannah felt ice run through her veins at those words. Quit. We have done nothing to deserve this attack. Please reconsider. We can offer trade, knowledge, cultural exchange. War benefits no one. War benefits the strong. Admiral Jawan replied coldly, and you are clearly weak. Okay. The transmission ended, leaving the Earth Command Center in stunned silence. Okay, President. Hannah looked around at her advisors, seeing her own fear reflected in their faces. Options, she said quietly. General Sunwoo cleared his throat. Ma'am, our military satellites show their weapons are far beyond anything we have. Our space-based defenses consist of a few orbital platforms with basic missile systems against 500 advanced warships. He did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone in the room understood how hopeless their situation appeared. Here is one thing, Madam President, said Dr. Yunji, the head of the government's secret research division. She was a small woman with nervous eyes who rarely spoke during these meetings. What is it, Doctor? President Hannah asked. Dr. Yunji hesitated, then spoke carefully. The blackout protocols, the systems our ancestors left in place. A strange silence fell over the command center. Several of the older advisors exchanged meaningful looks, but the younger staff members appeared confused. Dr. General Sunwoo said slowly, "Those are just legends." "Stories, are they?" Dr. Yunji replied. "The activation codes still exist. The hidden installations still show power readings." President Hannah stared at the scientist for a long moment. "Doctor, I need you to be very clear. Are you suggesting those old stories are real?" Before Dr. Yunji could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the command center. The main display flashed red as urgent messages appeared. "Madam President," shouted Communications Director Yuna, "the aliens are attacking our orbital stations. They are destroying everything in space around Earth." On the main screen, they watched in horror as brilliant explosions lit up the darkness of space. One by one, Earth's satellites and space stations were being systematically destroyed by alien weapons. Thousands of people were dying in the cold vacuum of space. Captain Minho watched with satisfaction as his destroyers eliminated the human orbital platforms. The weapons were pathetically weak, offering no real resistance to his advanced ships. "Target the large space station next," he ordered, "the one with all the communication arrays." A beam of pure energy lanced out from the Iron Fang, striking the International Space Station. The structure exploded in a ball of fire, killing everyone aboard instantly. "Okay, that should send a clear message," Minho said with approval. "Signal the fleet. Phase 1 is complete. All human space-based assets have been eliminated." Back in the Earth Command Center, President Hannah watched the destruction with tears in her eyes. Thousands of innocent people had just been murdered by these alien invaders. The time for peaceful solutions had passed. "Dr. Yunji," she said in a voice like steel, "activate the blackout protocols, all of them." The scientist nodded grimly and began entering codes into her terminal. "Yes, Madam President, it is time they learned the truth about humanity." High above Earth, the alien fleets celebrated their easy victory. They had no idea that their actions had just awakened something that had been sleeping peacefully for thousands of years. Something that remembered how to fight wars among the stars. The real battle was about to begin. Dr. Yunji's fingers moved quickly across her control panel, entering codes that had not been used for over 3,000 years. Each sequence activated systems that had been sleeping in the darkness of space, waiting for the day when Earth would need them again. "Blackout Protocol 1 activated," she announced to the command center. "Mars installations coming online." President Hannah watched the main display as red warning lights appeared across the solar system. Ancient bases hidden beneath the surface of Mars were awakening. Cone power readings that had been dormant for millennia suddenly spiked to enormous levels. "Blackout Protocol 2 activated," Dr. Yunji continued. Europa and Titan installations responding. On Admiral Jiwan's flagship, Science, Officer Wujin stared at his instruments in confusion. His scanner readings made no sense. Massive energy signatures were appearing throughout the human solar system, but they came from places where nothing should exist. Admiral Wujin called out, his voice tight with worry. "Okay, I'm detecting impossible power readings from the human gas giant moons. The energy levels are off the scale." Admiral G1 floated over to the science station, his tentacles curling with concern. Explain. Impossible. Sir, the readings suggest technology more advanced than anything in our databases. But the humans are primitive. This should not be possible. Captain Minho received similar reports on his destroyer. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Chanwu, looked pale as he studied his targeting systems. Captain, something is wrong. The asteroid belt is showing active energy signatures, hundreds of them. Asteroids do not generate energy, Lieutenant Minho replied with irritation. Check your equipment. I have checked it 3 times, sir. The readings are correct. Those are not normal asteroids. Across the alien fleet, similar reports flooded in from every ship. Scanner operators and science officers struggled to understand what they were seeing. Energy signatures appeared where nothing should exist. Power readings that suggested technology beyond their comprehension. On Earth, Dr. Yunji activated the final protocol. Blackout Protocol 3 complete. All hidden installations are now online. The fleet is awakening. President Hannah felt a strange mixture of relief and fear. The old stories had been true after all. Humanity's ancestors had left them the tools they needed to defend their world. But using those tools would reveal secrets that had been hidden for thousands of years. The first sign of what was coming appeared near Jupiter. Admiral G1 watches main screen as space itself seemed to ripple and bend. A massive structure materialized from what appeared to be empty space. It was clearly artificial, built from materials that gleamed with an inner light. What is that thing? Admiral Juan demanded. Science Officer Wu Jin worked frantically at his controls. Admiral, it appears to be a space station. What the size is incredible. It is larger than some of our capital ships. Where did it come from? It was hidden, sir. Somehow concealed from all our sensors until now. More structures appeared throughout the solar system. Ancient defense platforms emerged from asteroid hiding places. Hidden bases on distant moons activated their cloaking systems and revealed themselves as weapon arrays that had been disguised. As space rocks powered up and turned toward the alien fleet. But the most shocking revelation came when the ships appeared. Captain Minho was the first to see them. Sleek vessels emerged from behind Earth's moon, moving with impossible speed and grace. They were clearly human in design, but unlike anything the aliens had observed during their months of surveillance. Contact, Lieutenant Chanwu shouted. Multiple ships approaching from lunar orbit. Design unknown. Technology level unknown. Stared at the tactical display as more human ships appeared. They moved without visible engines, traveled faster than anything in the galactic database, and seemed to ignore the normal laws of physics. That is impossible, he whispered. The humans have no advanced ships. We destroyed all their space-based assets. Apparently, we only destroyed what they wanted us to see. Lieutenant Chanwu replied grimly. A transmission cut through the communication channels of every alien ship in the fleet. The voice was human, female, and spoke with calm authority that sent chills through the alien crews. Unknown fleet. This is Admiral Minjay of the Human Defense Force. You have attacked civilian installations and murdered innocent people. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawing from our solar system, or we will consider you hostile combatants. Admiral Jiwan's tentacles writhed with rage and confusion. Human Defense Force. That is impossible. They have no space fleet. Apparently they do. Science Officer Wu Jin said quietly. Admiral, the energy readings from those human ships are beyond our understanding. Their technology appears to be thousands of years ahead of ours. Ridiculous. Admiral Jawan snarled. Prepare all weapons. Target the human ships. We will show them the power of the Galactic Coalition. 20 seconds. Admiral Minja's voice continued calmly. Captain Minho gave similar orders to his destroyer. Squadron, all ships, target the human vessels. Fire on my command. The alien fleet spread out into attack formation, their weapons charging with deadly energy. 500 of the most advanced warships in known space prepared to unleash destruction on the human defenders. 10 seconds, Admiral Minjay announced. Admiral G1 raised his tentacle to give the attack order. All ships, prepare to fire. 5 seconds. Fire at will, Admiral G1 commanded. The alien fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and quantum missiles streaked through space toward the human ships. The combined firepower could have destroyed entire planets, but the human ships simply were not there anymore. Where did they go? Captain Minho shouted as his weapons struck empty space. They moved, sir, Lieutenant Chanwu replied in shock. But the speed is impossible. Our targeting computers cannot track them. The human ships had not just moved, they had relocated instantly, appearing in new positions throughout the alien formation. Admiral Minja's voice came over the communication channels again, still perfectly calm. Your 30 seconds have expired. You chose violence. That was a mistake. What happened next would be remembered as the shortest space battle in galactic history. The human ships fired once each. Single beams of silver light that moved faster than the alien sensors could track. Captain Minho watched in horror as the beam struck his destroyer's main reactor, but instead of exploding, the Iron Fang simply stopped working. Every system shut down simultaneously. Weapons, engines, life support, communications. Everything went dark. The same thing happened to every alien ship in the fleet. 500 advanced warships were disabled in less than 10 seconds. Not destroyed, not damaged, just completely powerless. Admiral Juan floated in the darkness of his command bridge, emergency lighting casting strange shadows. His suit's power had failed, forcing him to rely on internal life support. Report, he whispered, though he knew the answer. All systems offline, Admiral, came a weak reply from somewhere in the darkness. We are completely helpless. Admiral Minja's transmission reached them through backup emergency receivers. Coalition fleet, you are now prisoners of war. Human recovery ships are en route to collect your crews. Any attempt to resist will result in the permanent destruction of your vessels. Admiral Juan realized with growing horror that the humans had not even been trying to hurt them. They could have destroyed the entire alien fleet just as easily as disassembling it. The technology gap was so enormous that the coalition forces were like children playing with toys against adults with real weapons. How is this possible? He whispered into the darkness. On Earth, President Hanna watched the results of the engagement with amazement. The alien threat had been neutralized in seconds without a single human casualty. Admiral Minjay, she said into her communication device. Status report. All hostile ships disabled, Madam President. No casualties on our side. Minimal damage to their ships. They are ready for processing. Dr. Yunji looked up from her control station. Madam President, what are your orders regarding the revelation protocols? President Hanna thought carefully about her answer. The secret was out now. The galaxy would learn that humanity had never been as weak as they appeared. Dr. Yunji, she said finally, I think it is time the galaxy learned the truth about Earth. 3 days after the battle in Earth's solar system, Captain Hayo crouched in the shadows of her damaged Draknari cruiser's bridge. The Crimson Blade had been one of the few ships to escape the human attack, but barely. Half her crew was dead, and the ship's engines were failing. Status report, she whispered to her remaining officers. Engineer Taiyun looked up from his damaged control panel. Captain, the jump drive is barely functional. We can make 1 more hyperspace leap, maybe 2 if we are lucky. Where are we? Captain Hayu asked. The Korthok border system, ma'am. We jumped here hoping to find coalition support, but the system appears to be empty. Captain Hayu felt cold fear creep up her spine. The Korthok system should have contained 3 military bases and a patrol fleet of 50 ships. If it was empty, that meant the humans had been here first. Communications tried to contact the Nexus Prime Emergency Command Center. Communications Officer Nayan worked frantically at her console for several minutes before shaking her head. No response, Captain. I cannot reach any coalition command structure anywhere. The bridge fell silent, except for the humming of failing life support systems. Captain Hayu realized with growing horror that they might be among the last coalition survivors, still free. Captain, Engineer Tae-young called out suddenly. I am detecting energy signatures approaching our position. Unknown ship types. On the main screen, sleek silver vessels appeared out of what seemed like empty space. They moved without sound, without visible engines, and with the same impossible grace that had destroyed the coalition fleet at Earth. Human ships, Captain Hayu breathed. How did they find us so quickly? The answer came through their communication system in a calm female voice. Draknary Vessel Crimson Blade. This is Commander Jayan of the Human Pursuit Fleet. You are ordered to surrender immediately. Captain HumansYou'll stared at the screen in disbelief. How did they know our ship's name? How do they even know we are here? Engineer Tae-young checked his scanners again. Captain, there are no active sensors detecting. U.S. Our stealth systems are still functioning. They should not be able to see us, but the humans clearly could see them. The silver ships moved into a perfect surrounding formation, cutting off all escape routes. Captain Hai realized that humanity's technology was so far advanced that their stealth systems were useless. Draknary Vessel, Commander Jian's voice continued. You have 10 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. Captain Hayu looked around her damaged bridge at the faces of her surviving crew. They were soldiers, trained to fight to the death. But they had seen what human weapons could do. Resistance was not just futile, it was suicide. Power down all weapons, she ordered quietly. Signal our surrender. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as human ships appeared at every coalition base, every military installation, every hidden refuge where alien survivors had fled. The speed of their response was impossible to understand. Lieutenant Seok-jin of the Zarathi Diplomatic Corps had escaped to the far edge of coalition space, traveling for weeks to reach the emergency command bunker on Zarath Prime. The journey should have taken the humans months to trace, but when he arrived, human ships were already waiting in orbit. How are they everywhere at once? He whispered to Commander Yuban, who had arrived at the bunker just hours before. Commander Yuban's forearms trembled as she watched the human ships through the observation window. They are not traveling through normal space, she realized. They are using some form of dimensional technology. Distance means nothing to them. The bunker's communication system activated, and a human voice spoke with the same calm authority they had heard at Earth. Zarathi Command Bunker. This is Captain Dongwu of the Human Containment Fleet. You are surrounded. Exit the facility with your hands visible and surrender immediately. Lieutenant Seok-jin felt his heart sink. The humans had not just defeated the coalition fleet. They were systematically hunting down every military asset, every commander, every soldier who had participated in the attack on Earth. Sir, Communications Officer Minji called out from her station. I am receiving reports from across coalition space. Human forces have appeared simultaneously at over 300 locations. They are attacking every major military installation in the galaxy. Commander Yuban's eyes widened in shock. 300 locations. That would require thousands of ships and perfect coordination across millions of light years. No species has that capability. The humans do, Lieutenant Seok-jin said grimly. They are not just more advanced than we thought. They are more advanced than we ever imagined possible. On the other side of the galaxy, General Hinwu sat in the ruins of his command center on Draknary Prime. The human attack had come without warning. Silver ships had appeared in orbit and systematically destroyed every military target on the planet with surgical precision. Not one civilian building had been touched, but every weapon, every ship, every military installation was now smoking. Rubble. Report from the outer colonies, his aide whispered. General HumansYou'll looked up from the tactical display, showing the destruction of his empire's military might. What news? The humans have attacked every Draknari military base simultaneously. Our entire space fleet has been destroyed or captured. Our ground forces have been disarmed. The humans appear to know the location of every secret facility we possess. The general's scarred face twisted with rage and fear. How long have they been watching us? His aide consulted her datapad with shaking hands. Its intelligence suggests they have been monitoring all coalition species for thousands of years. They know everything about our military capabilities, our weaknesses, our secret installations. General HumansYou'll realized the terrifying truth. While the coalition had been watching Earth and seeing only a primitive world, the humans had been watching them, studying them, learning everything about their enemies while remaining completely hidden. We walked into a trap, he whispered. The entire attack on Earth was a trap. Back on Earth, Admiral Minjay stood in the command center, reviewing reports from human fleets across the galaxy. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned. Every coalition military asset was being systematically eliminated with minimal casualties on both sides. Status report, Admiral, President Hannah asked as she entered the command center. Phase 2 is complete, Madam President. All major coalition military installations have been neutralized. Their fleets are destroyed or captured. Resistance has been minimal. President Hannah studied the galactic map showing human operations across thousands of star systems. Casualties. Enemy military casualties are less than 1%. Our casualties are 0. The technology advantage is so overwhelming that most of their forces are surrendering without fighting. Dr. Yunji looked up from her monitoring station. Madam President, we are receiving surrender requests from over 40 different species. Many of them were not even part of the original attack force. They are surrendering because they are terrified, Admiral Minjay explained. Word of our capabilities is spreading faster than our ships. Higher civilizations are realizing that if we can defeat the coalition this easily, no one in the galaxy can stand against us. President Hannah nodded slowly. How long until the operation is complete? 6 more hours, Madam President. By then, every coalition species will be militarily powerless. They will be confined to their home systems with no ability to project force beyond their own atmosphere. President Hannah walked to the observation window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the greatest military alliance in galactic history was being systematically dismantled by forces they could not comprehend or resist. Admiral, she said quietly, make sure our forces understand. This is not about conquest or revenge. This is about ensuring this never happens again. Admiral Minjay saluted. Understood, Madame President. Humanity will be the guardian of galactic peace, whether the other species want us to be or not. The hunt was nearly over. Soon, every species that had voted to attack Earth would learn what it meant to face the wrath of a truly advanced civilization. And the galaxy would never be the same again. 6 months had passed since the attack on Earth, and the Grand Council chamber on Nexus Prime looked very different. The once mighty gathering place of the Galactic Coalition now held only a handful of representatives. Most of the seats sat empty, their former occupants either dead, captured, or hiding in fear on their home worlds. Ambassador Taman stood at the same speaking platform where he had tried to warn the Council about attacking humanity. His blue skin looked older now, marked by the stress of watching his predictions come true in the most terrible way possible. Around him, the few remaining representatives sat in silence, their proud military uniforms replaced by simple civilian clothes. The massive chamber felt cold and empty without. The hundreds of alien beings who once filled it with noise and argument. Now, only 12 species remained free enough to send representatives, and they all waited in fearful silence for the humans to arrive. General HumansYou'll sat in chains near the front of the chamber. The once mighty Dragnari warrior looked broken and defeated. His scales had lost their shine, and his fierce yellow eyes now stared at the floor in shame. Beside him sat Admiral Jiwon in a special containment suit, his tentacles moving weakly as he struggled to breathe in the unfamiliar atmosphere of Commander. Siyun's metallic form was dark and silent. The humans had shut down her main power systems, leaving her conscious but unable to move. She could only watch and listen as the final chapter of the Coalition's defeat played out before her. "They are coming," whispered Representative Minho from his seat near the back. He pointed toward the great doors of the chamber with a trembling hand. The doors opened without a sound, and Admiral Minjae walked into the chamber. She wore a simple black uniform with no decorations or symbols of rank. Behind her came a small group of human officers, their faces calm and professional. They moved with quiet confidence, showing no fear despite being surrounded by alien beings who had once commanded vast military forces. Admiral Minjae walked to the center platform and looked around the nearly empty chamber. Her eyes showed no anger or hatred, only a deep sadness at the waste of life and resources that had brought them to this moment. "Representatives of the former Galactic Coalition," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the silent chamber. "I am Admiral Minjae of the Human Defense Force. I am here to accept your formal surrender and to explain the terms of the peace that will follow." Ambassador Temin stepped forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "Admiral, may I speak?" Admiral Minjae nodded. "Of course, Ambassador. You were the only one who tried to prevent this tragedy." Keeman looked around at the empty seats and broken leaders. "I want to ask about the casualties. How many died in this war?" "Fewer than you might expect," Admiral Minjae replied. "Our forces were instructed to minimize loss of life." Total military casualties across all coalition species numbered approximately 50,000. "Most of your soldiers surrendered when they realized resistance was hopeless." A collective sigh of relief passed through the chamber. Many had feared the death toll would be in the millions. However, Admiral Minjae continued, "The military capabilities of every coalition species have been completely eliminated. Your space fleets are destroyed or captured. Your weapons manufacturing facilities have been dismantled. Your advanced technology has been confiscated." General HumansYou'll raised his head and spoke for the first time since his capture. "What are your demands, human? What tribute must we pay for our defeat?" Admiral Minjae looked at the former general with something almost like pity. "There will be no tribute, General. Humanity has no interest in your wealth or resources. Our demands are simple but absolute." She activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. "Each coalition species will be confined to their home star system for the next 100 years. You will not be permitted to travel beyond your own planets. Any attempt to develop weapons of mass destruction or build military starships will result in immediate intervention." Representative Kyung-jae of the Velog Empire raised her hand nervously. "Admiral, what about trade? What about scientific research? How will our civilization survive without contact with other worlds?" "Peaceful trade will be permitted under human supervision," Admiral Minjae replied. "Scientific research will continue, but any military applications will be prevented. Your civilizations will not only survive, they will thrive without the constant burden of military spending and warfare." Commander Siyun's voice crackled through her damaged speakers. "And after 100 years, what then?" Admiral Minjae smiled slightly. the first emotion she had shown since entering the chamber. After 100 years, your species will be evaluated for readmission to galactic society. Those who have learned to resolve conflicts peacefully will be welcomed to rejoin the community of worlds. Those who still dream of conquest will remain isolated. Ambassador Taman asked the question that everyone was thinking. Will humanity rule over us? Will you become our masters? No, Admiral Minjay said firmly. Humanity has no desire to rule over other species. We withdrew from galactic affairs long ago because we grew tired of constant warfare and politics, preferred to remain hidden and watch from the shadows. Then why reveal yourselves now? Asked Representative Minho. Admiral Minjay's expression grew serious. Because you forced us to. You attacked our civilians. You murdered innocent people. You mistook our desire for peace as a sign of weakness. She walked closer to the assembled representatives, her voice growing stronger. Let me be very clear about something. The humans you encountered in this war represent less than 1% of our actual military capability. Our hidden fleets number in the hundreds of thousands. Our technology is so far advanced beyond yours that your most powerful weapons are like sticks and stones to us. The chamber fell into shocked silence. Even after everything they had witnessed, the aliens had not grasped the true scale of human power. We could have destroyed every world in the coalition without losing a single ship. Admiral Minjay continued. We could have wiped your species from existence with less effort than it takes you to destroy a single building. But we chose mercy instead. General Hunwu looked up with tears in his yellow eyes. Why? Why show us mercy when we showed you none? Admiral Minjay studied the broken general for a long moment before answering. 'Cause we remember what it was like to be young and proud and stupid. Thousands of years ago, humanity made the same mistakes you made. We attacked species we thought were weak. We started wars we could not finish. We learned through pain and loss that true strength comes from choosing not to use your power, not from using it to hurt others. She turned to address the entire chamber. Your species are not evil. You are simply young and inexperienced in the ways of galactic civilization. Given time and guidance, you may learn wisdom. Ambassador Taman bowed his head respectfully. What happens now, Admiral? Now you return to your worlds and begin the work of building peaceful societies. Admiral Minjay replied. Human observers will monitor your progress, but we will remain hidden unless you force us to intervene again. She walked toward the chamber doors, then paused and turned back to face the assembled representatives. I want you to remember this day. Remember that you had a choice between peace and war, and you chose war. Remember that humanity offered you friendship, and you responded with violence. Remember that in victory, we chose mercy over revenge. Admiral Minjay's voice carried to every corner of the great chamber. Your children and your children's children will grow up in a galaxy free from the threat of major warfare. They will know peace because you learned the price of war. That is our gift to the future. As the human delegation left the chamber, Ambassador Taman walked to his old speaking platform one final time. He activated the recording system and began to create a new entry for the Galactic Archives. Today marks the end of the Coalition War and the beginning of a new age of peace. He spoke into the recorder. Let it be known that the humans offered us friendship, and we chose to test their strength instead. They proved more powerful than our greatest fears, and more merciful than our highest hopes. He paused, looking around the empty chamber that had once echoed with the voices of hundreds of proud alien leaders. To future generations who may find these records, remember this warning. The humans sleep peacefully among the stars, but they are always watching. They hope for the best in all species, but they are prepared for the worst. Treat them with respect. Offer them friendship, and you will find no better allies in the galaxy. Taman ended the recording and walked slowly from the chamber. Outside, human ships waited to escort the remaining representatives safely back to their home worlds. The war was over, but the legend of humanity's hidden strength would live forever in the stories told around alien campfires. The galaxy was at peace, watched over by guardians who preferred to remain unseen. And in the darkness between the stars, humanity continued its eternal vigil, hoping they would never again need to remind the galaxy why they were called the sleeping giants.